Okay, so people, all roads have led to this 28 years later. Yes, the third film in the franchise, and not the last. Oh, not the last. Right, so back we have Danny Boyle directing. Back we have Alex Garland writing. Yes. Okay, so producing the film, we have got Danny Boyle. We have got Alex Garland. We have got, once again, Andrew McDonald. We got Peter Rice. We also have got Bernard Billow. I feel I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Anyway, executive producing, we have Cillian Murphy. Right, we've got Alon Reich. We have got associate producing Joanne Smith, and co-production from Richard Stiles. Archival production was handled by Paul Gardner. Okay, Young Fathers handled the music this time around. Back on cinematography, we have Anthony Dodd Mantle. Right, John Harris edits. Once again, casting is Gail Stevens and Rebecca Farhall. Production design, we have Carson McCall and Gareth Pugh. Dan Clay, Ewa Galak, Paul Kurandi, and Nick Wilkinson handle art direction. Set decoration is Naomi Moore. Costume design, we have Carson McCall and Gareth Pugh as well. Hair and makeup, we have Sally Alcott, Lisa Cachado Barbette, Joe Barrett, Sophie Battersby, James Bernandes, Daljit Kua Bandari, Michael Bertley, Becky Bishop, Charlie Blewett, Molly J. Bowen Schofield, Stephen Brine, Emil or Emily? I think it's Emily Carruthers, Kevin Carter, Katie Cherry, Rebecca Cole, Maria Kwok, Victoria Cotterill, David Darby, Louise Dupin, Candice Fox, Joe Gorover, okay, Amy Jane Gwynn, Abigail Harricott Smith, Sarah Harris, Anna Henderson, Chloe Henderson, Chloe Hendrickson, Kate Hill, Victoria Holt, Andy Hunt, Jennifer Hymus, Benjamin Ip, Alana May Ives, Oscar Jackman, Samuel James, Vicky Johnson, Reza Karim, Jennifer Knipp, Buck, Serena Knott, Jessica Landland, Bethany Jade Lane, Alex Lawton. Whew. I don't think that's all hair and makeup. Yeah, that's a bit of an odd one. Anyway, right. Let's go to the cast because, yeah, that was a weird list. Anyway, people, in this film, we have got Aaron Taylor Johnson is Jamie. His wife, Isla, is played by Jodie Comer. Their son, Spike, is played by Alfie Williams. We have got Jimmy, right, who we see at the very beginning, played by Rocco Haynes. There's, who else do we have in the village? Oh, yes, we've got Rosie, played by Amy Cameron. Sam, friend of the family, played by Christopher Fulford. There is Dr. Ian Kelson, played by Ralph Fiennes. Eric Sundervist, played by Edwin Riding. Jenny, played by Stella Gonnet. There is the Berserker, played by Chris Gregory. Samson, played by Chai Lewis-Parry. His wife, or whatever, played by Cecily Crossland. We have then got the Sir Crystal, right, who we meet at the very end, played by Jack O'Connell, and his crew, played by Erin Kellerman, Emma Laird, Maura Bird, Sam Loke, Robert Rose, Connor Neal, Ghazi Al-Rufi, Sandy Batchelor, Chris Gregory. No, that's it. Yeah, that's the crew at the end. Not too much can be said because, you know. But yeah, that's them. Is there anyone else? Oh, Jimmy's mum is played by Kim Allen. His sister is played by Isla Vickers. And Darcy Smith. Theodore Rawlings is another of his sisters, along with Olivia Morley, Annabelle Graham, Hannah Allen Robertson. His cousin is played by Harriet Taylor. His aunt is played by Hayley Flattery. So these are, I think, all the kids we see in the room at the beginning with Jimmy. I believe. It's not overly clear, but that's what I think it is. Yes. Anthony is played by Jeffrey Austin Newland. But I believe that's the main lot of the crew that we come across. I think. Okay. So the gist of the story this time out, because it is a very, very different one. It's been almost 3 decades since the rage virus escaped a biological weapon laboratory, and now, still in a ruthless enforced quarantine, some have found ways to exist amidst the infected. One such group of survivors lives on a small island connected to the mainland by a single heavily defended causeway. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the dark heart of the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected but other survivors as well. Yeah, I don't know what it is with these synopsises, because so many times they're not even right. It is kind of bonkers, because it wasn't one person leaves the causeway, the village. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's a bit baffling. It's a bit baffling, people, but what are you going to do? Right? So yeah, 2007, 28 weeks later came out. So 18 years, right? I think that's right. 18 years later, we get a new film, which is kind of bonkers. You know what I mean? It's kind of bonkers that's what happened. But we'll see what happens, right? Because we've got this film, And then they've got 2 more, right? And we know we're getting another film at the least. I mean, I feel we're getting both films essentially, because the oh man, I forgot her name. Fuck, she directed Old Guard. Really good director. Anyway, she directed the next installment, right, at the same time as this. They were directed back to back, right? I think it's like 28 years later, Stone Temple, the Bone Temple. That's it. So that's already been done, right? That's coming out January next year. And I think the third part is being produced, like, you know, it's on shoot right now. So we're getting those. So I think this film might make more sense when everything has been connected, you know? But we start off with all of these kids in a room and they're watching a Teletubbies, which is pretty frightening. Like, I never understood the Teletubbies, man. I mean, I was too old for the Teletubbies, but I didn't get how they were so big because it just seemed like weird noise, right? I don't even know. Is Teletubbies still a thing? I don't even know, but it was odd. It was odd. So you got all these kids in a room watching telly, and as I said, it's not clear that they're all related. I just assumed because the world's gone to shit. Like, you know what I mean? There's one house and everyone's just got the kids in one spot, right? That everyone's in the house talking, trying to work out what to do. That's what I assumed it is. But, you know, from IMDb, it does seem that they are all meant to be related. It doesn't really mean anything. Because basically, all hell breaks loose. Infected get into the house. Jimmy's the only one that escapes. Goes to the church where his dad is the vicar. And then, you know, I think that was in the trailer, I believe. Like the whole vicar part. So we have all of that. And then we kind of jump forward in time. So now we're in this village. Right, we're in this little village. We got Jamie, Spike, and Jamie's wife Isla, who's ill in bed. We don't know what's wrong with her. You know, we just know she's ill. And yeah, so because they're on this island, it's in the Scotland Highlands. It's off Scotland, right? So it's connected to the mainland by this causeway that is only there in low tide. Which, yeah, that not a bad idea, right? It's definitely a way to stay safe. Although you would think that the infected just wait, right? Wait for it to go low tide and then sport, but you know, they don't. Anyway, that's where everyone is. And so they're living their life, doing their thing. They've got food, right? It seems okay. The only thing, they don't have radio, they don't have phones, they don't have electricity, none of that stuff. But they're living all right. Everyone looks pretty healthy, right? Which is something I wasn't quite sure about. But we'll get to that. So Jamie takes Spike to the mainland. Right? Now, Spike's 12. And supposedly what the villagers, elder council seem to say that it's usually 14-year-olds. But for whatever reason, Jamie's like, Spike can handle it. So they go to the mainland. When they're on the mainland, we come across a new type of zombie, which is, I mean, the fact that we then have these new breeds is interesting. It does make sense, right? If we're saying after 28 years, this virus is still there. It's going to have morphed, right? It's most definitely, changed, adapted, evolved. So I was like, yeah, okay. Also, with the fact of the alphas, again, it makes sense, right? These things make sense. I think there was this zombie show on Netflix. I think it was called Black Summer. And I believe they had big alphas in their one as well. But yeah, all of that makes sense. Like the zombie part makes sense. So we see them here, right? But obviously, because of Spike's mum, Jimmy's wife, being ill, Spike wants to find a cure, right? So that's how this story kind of becomes something. But there's a lot going on here. There's a lot going on. And I thought the acting was good. The acting was good, But there are some questions, like the going to the mainland. I'm not quite sure what the point is. They didn't, because it's not, I thought they're going to hunt for meat, right? Because essentially Britain has gone wild again, Wild being, I think that's the term, wilding, right? That you let nature just grow, take its course, do its thing. So, if trees are going to grow, trees are going to grow, right? The grass, let the grass just grow. Let everything go back to the wild. And that's what's happened. So I feel it was a whole, I was going to say horde. I don't think you call a group of horses hordes, but we see a whole load. I think it's horses, maybe it's deer. I couldn't really see because they're in the distance on the screen. Right, but run through. Herd. That's it. Herd. It's a herd. Running. But they're not shooting at them. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, you don't come for the meat. Right? So you can bring a load of meat to the village and everyone's eating. And, you know what I mean? That's not the course. It's like, to kill zombies is one thing, but I just didn't think they brought enough, like arrows or equipment for that. So the initial idea going to the mainland, it's like, okay, cool. But then it's just like, but why? Why are you here? So we have these things that don't quite make sense. And then the fact that Spike goes out again, seeing the fact that he froze multiple times, doesn't really make any sense, right? Doesn't make any sense. And at the least, right, if you're going to do it, you feel he would try and go even more fortified than the first time because of the fear. You know what I mean? Because he was so afraid, like, come more prepared. But didn't quite make sense. We have that thing with distance and walking. Where it's like, the early seasons of Game of Thrones, it took them ages to get places. And then in the last couple of seasons, they're like, oh, we're going there. We're here. It's just like, wait, how you get there so quickly? You know what I mean? And that's the thing here. It's just like the distance didn't quite add up. How far they're walking. But I think one big thing, right? I think in the first film, everyone did seem like they haven't eaten in a while. Like they were kind of disheveled and all of that. In this one, you're You know, as I said, they've got eggs, they can have chickens and things like that. But if you're not getting a lot of meats and you're not getting a load of nutrients and vitamins and all of that, you're not going to be, you know what I mean? Let's say healthy. Now, there's going to be a load of vegetarians and vegans be like, what are you talking about? I'm just like, it's facts. Because they won't be getting balanced diets, right? Which is the thing about going to the mainland, thinking, oh, are they going for meat? If they're not getting balanced diets, right? But everyone looks healthy, right? No one's looking a little thin, right? A little wafy. Everyone's teeth look good. And you'd think, I bet there's no toothpaste. So, how the fuck is everyone's teeth good? You know? It's like body hair. And I say this all the time with shit, right? But it's something that not everyone seems to think about because there's no barbers, there's no electricity for clippers and shit. So everyone's hair, like, you'd think people would have real long hair or kind of hatcheted bits off, right? People would have a beard, or like you're not having a crisp shave. It's not looking neat and tidy and all of this jazz. You know what I'm saying? That's the big thing. Everyone, it looks too neat. It looks too perfect. And it shouldn't. Right? It shouldn't. The one thing at the very end, Sir Crystal's teeth looked kind of messy. And you're like, finally, yes, that's how it should be, right? So we have that. Now, all of those things are whatever. But there is something going on with one of the zombies, which I mean, the problem is you can't talk about it, but it just is so insane. It is so insane. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's a bit like in the second film when they use nerve gas, right? When you're just like, yeah, but if they're not alive, they're not breathing. If they're not breathing, they're not taking in nerve gas, right? It's one of them ones with this thing that we see, and you're just like, yeah, that makes no sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. Because she ain't alive. She ain't alive. So what are we saying? What are we saying? You know what I mean? It's just, yeah, just odd. Just very odd, right? I don't know. We have this, I think it's this thing, and we've seen it in like the second film as well. Like with people that cause other people's deaths, right? It's their stupidity, their actions that have led to someone dying. But there's no real, fuck, that's me. I did that. Right? Where's the thing that is haunting you now? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, there's one character in the second where we have that, right? And that's part of the plot. But some of the other characters, that's what I'm referring to. And again, in this one, and it's just like your stupid actions have led to this thing. There's also this illness, this mysterious illness, which I don't know how we're diagnosing it when there's nothing, right? There's nothing going on in this world now. There's no electricity. There's not. So it's just like, how are you diagnosing this thing? That's some bizarre shit. That's some bizarre shit, right? It's just these things that become these plot points, which are so, I mean, they're kind of egregious in the way that you're just like, I don't know how we get to there, right? How do we get to there? As I said, the acting is good, right? It's well shot. It's well done. But we have these things that are just a little baffling, you know? Like, as I said, the teeth, the hair, just this kind of stuff. Like clothing. How are you making all of these clothes? Because we're not on like badly dyed tunics and stuff, which you feel you would be by this point. You know? I mean, the fact that we have a load of naked zombies is one thing. Because it's just like, okay, yes, they're outdoors all the time. So their clothes are just going to disintegrate after a while. You know what I mean? So you'd be like, all right, yeah, that shit I'd buy. I mean, yeah, you know, maybe you might have some with a half a shirt on, right? Like not everything's going to disintegrate at the same speed. So you might have bits of clothing sticking around, but essentially that all makes sense. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's just certain parts of the film where I'm just scratching my head. Like it is very tonally different to the first two, which I'm not mad at, because I'm fine with you trying something different, right? Going in a different course, playing in a different genre, right? I think, as I said, the first film's like Alien, the second's like Aliens, you know? Like when you think about other films like Blade 1 and Blade 2, very different films, right? We won't talk about Blade 3, but yeah, very different films. So doing something different, fire. You know what I mean? I'm down. Just make it work for me. That's all I need. Make it work, and I'm with you till the end. Now, as I said, because this was filmed back to back with Bone Temple, and then there's the third one, maybe it makes more sense and more information is divulged in that film, right? So it might be one of those ones that you have to watch as a whole for a better experience. So we'll see, you know what I mean, when that drops. I'll probably have some more to say on this then. But until then, I think if you really like the second film, this is probably closer to the second film than it is to the first film. Though also, there's stuff that gets said at the end of the second film that seems to maybe not have happened in the third film, right? I don't know. It's a little odd. But yeah, if you really like the second, I think you'd probably dig this iteration. It's out in the cinema though, people. So yeah, 28 years later is out. I'm very curious to know what you think. So hit me up. Let me know. Do you have the same issues as me? Did you love it? Do you think, what is he talking about? Let me know, people. 28 years later.